The night at the edge of the human outpost was quiet. The stars hung over the desert like frozen sparks, and the only sound came from the slow hum of the repair bay. Rian sat at his workbench, tightening the bolts on a cargo rover engine. It was routine work, the kind he had done for years without much excitement. This outpost was far from the center of human space. Few ships came here unless they were carrying supplies or traveling to the nearby mining colonies. Most days passed in silence, with Rian's only company being the machines he repaired. That night felt no different until the ground suddenly trembled. The rumble started faint, like distant thunder, but quickly grew into a deep roar. Rian looked up from his tools, his instincts telling him it was no mining quake. A bright flash lit the sky outside, followed by a streak of fire cutting across the darkness. His heart began to race. Ships did not usually enter the atmosphere. Without clearance, he rushed to the hangar doors and looked out into the desert. The fiery streak fell lower and lower, trailing smoke, until it vanished behind the ridge east of the outpost. A moment later, there was a muffled crash. Dust rose into the night air. Rian grabbed his field kit and jumped into a small rover. The rules of the outpost said that any crash should be reported immediately to command, but Rian knew what would happen if he called it in too soon. Security would get there first, take everything, and he would never find out what had really happened. His curiosity was stronger than his sense of protocol. He drove across the uneven ground, headlights sweeping over rocks and dry sand. The smell of burned metal reached him before he saw the wreck. The craft had come down hard, skidding across the dirt before lodging against a cluster of boulders. Its hull was scorched black, but the design was unlike any human ship Rian had seen. It was curved and sleek, almost like the shell of some living creature. Strange markings glimmered faintly along its sides. As he stepped closer, he heard a faint sound from inside, not the hiss of escaping gas, but a voice. It was soft, weak, and unfamiliar. Help. The word was in basic, the common language, but the accent was strange. Rian moved quickly to the damaged hatch and forced it open with his pry tool. Inside the cockpit, a figure slumped in the seat. She was wearing armor made of a metal that caught the light in shifting colors. Her skin had a faint silver hue, and her hair was a deep shade of green that shimmered in the light from the rover. She looked at him with wide, tired eyes. "Please," she said again. Without wasting time, Rian lifted her gently out of the craft. She was lighter than he expected, and the armor was warm to the touch, as if it held heat within. He carried her to the rover and set her down in the passenger seat. On the way back to the outpost, she stayed silent except for a few shallow breaths. Rian glanced at her several times. She looked young, but the armor was not ceremonial. It was worn, scratched, and scorched. This was a soldier's armor, or at least someone used to dangerous work. When they reached the repair bay, Rian helped her inside. He laid her on the padded bench near his work area and fetched a medkit. Her wounds were not too severe, a few cuts, bruises, and signs of strain, but the armor had taken most of the damage. "You are safe now," Rian said while applying a healing patch to her shoulder. Her gaze shifted to the armor pieces that had cracked or bent. "You can fix it?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Rian nodded. "I fix machines for a living. Armor is not so different." She hesitated before answering. "Do not let anyone else touch it." Rian raised an eyebrow. "Security will want to see it. The commander will know." She interrupted sharply. "Promise me." Her sudden firmness caught him off guard, but he agreed. "All right, I promise." She seemed to relax slightly. "My name is Ori," she said. "Rian," he replied. "Now, tell me what happened." Her expression darkened. "I cannot tell you everything. Not now. I was chased." She stopped, as if choosing her words carefully. "My ship was damaged. I had to land." He knew there was more to the story, but pushing her would get him nowhere. Instead, he turned his attention to the armor. The chest plate was bent inward, several joints were frozen, and some of the plating had hairline fractures. The design was complex, far beyond anything he had worked on before. As he began loosening the locking seals, Ori watched him closely, her eyes following every movement of his tools. Rian noticed the care she had for the armor, almost as if it was more than just protection. While cleaning a scorched section near the shoulder, he caught sight of something strange beneath the outer layer. There were faint lines that did not match the armor's construction pattern. They looked almost like small markings or letters, but they were mostly hidden under the plating. He leaned closer, but before he could study them, Ori spoke again. "How long will it take?" Rian straightened up. "A few hours for basic repairs, maybe longer if there is deeper damage." She nodded, but her gaze was tense. "Just work. Here, do not take it anywhere else." "Fine," he said, "but if someone comes asking questions, I will not be able to stop them from looking." She gave him a long look, then turned her face away. "Then we must hope no one asks outside." The desert wind howled softly, carrying with it the smell of dust and faint traces of burnt metal from the crash site. Somewhere out there, Rian knew, the wrecked alien ship still sat against the boulders. It would not be long before someone else found it. Rian tightened the last bolt on the shoulder piece for the night and set his tools down. The strange markings under the armor stayed in his mind. He did not know what they were, but the way Ori guarded her armor told him they were important. He decided not to mention them, at least not yet. The quiet hum of the repair bay returned, but the air felt different now. The outpost had always been a dull, predictable place. Now, Rian had a feeling that his life was about to change in ways he could not imagine. The next morning, the desert sun rose over the outpost, painting the metal walls in pale gold. Rian was already in the repair bay, tools laid out in neat rows. Ori sat quietly on the bench, her hands resting on her knees, watching him prepare. She had refused any help from the medics, insisting she was fine. Her focus remained fixed on the armor. Rian lifted the main chest plate onto the workbench. The strange shifting colors of the metal reflected the light, making it hard to tell where the damage ended and the design began. He ran a scanner over the surface. The readout showed a complex energy network running through the armor, almost like veins. It was more than just a protective shell. It seemed alive in some way. "This is advanced work," he said, keeping his tone casual. "More advanced than anything we have." Ori did not answer right away. "It is old," she finally said. "Older than your outpost, older than your colonies." Her words made Rian pause. "Then how is it still working?" "Because it was built to last," she replied. But her eyes shifted away as if she had said more than she intended. He continued working, unscrewing the damaged shoulder guard. The metal came away in layers, each one revealing new patterns of circuits and thin lines of glowing material. He had never seen anything like it before. As he removed one of the inner plates, something caught his attention again. Faint markings, almost invisible, etched into the inner layer. They were not part of the armor's wiring. They looked like symbols or letters arranged in a small block. He leaned closer, brushing away dust from the crash. The markings became clearer. But before he could read them, Ori stood and moved to his side. "Stop," she said sharply. Rian looked up. "I am only cleaning the damage." Her gaze locked on the exposed markings. "Not this part. Do not touch it more than needed." He tilted his head. "These markings, what are they?" "They are nothing you need to know," she said quickly. "Please, just repair the armor without asking about them." Her sudden change in tone made Rian uneasy. He nodded, pretending to drop the matter, but the markings stayed in his thoughts. They were too precise and too well hidden to be decoration. He worked in silence for a while, repairing a cracked joint near the arm. Ori watched every move, sometimes asking what he was doing, sometimes just studying his hands. Rian could tell she did not fully trust him yet, but she was desperate to have the armor fixed. After 2 hours, the basic structural repairs were done. The armor could now hold its shape again, but the internal energy network was still unstable. Rian powered it down completely before starting on the deeper repairs. While running a diagnostic, he noticed how the power core pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. The scanner could not identify the exact energy source, but it registered it as highly stable, the kind of power supply that could last for centuries without replacement. Where did you get this? He asked, unable to hide his curiosity, or he hesitated. It was given to me by someone I trusted. Someone who is no longer here. Ryun understood the weight in her voice. He had lost people too, though his losses were to accidents, not whatever danger she had faced. He did not press her for more details. Before long, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the quarter outside the repair bay. Ori stiffened immediately. Ryun looked toward the door. Relax, it is probably just supply staff. The door slid open, and a man in a security uniform stepped in. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and wore the dark visor of the outpost guard. His gaze went straight to the armor on the workbench. Ryun, the guard said, Commander wants a full report on the crash last night. We heard you brought someone in. Ryun kept his voice even. She was injured. I gave her first aid. That is all. The guard stepped closer, studying Ori with obvious suspicion. Name? Ori. She answered calmly. The guard's visor reflected her face, but his tone stayed flat. We will need to inspect the shipwreck. Anything you took from it will be collected for examination. Ryun's mind raced. If they examined the armor, they would find the hidden markings. He needed to buy time. The armor is damaged, Ryun said. It will fall apart if moved right now. Let me finish repairs, then you can take it to the commander. The guard studied him for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. One day. That is all you get. As soon as the guard left or returned to Ryun, you see now why I told you not to tell anyone. Ryun sighed. If they find those markings, I cannot protect you. You need to tell me what they mean. Ori shook her head. Not yet. You would not believe me. He leaned on the workbench. Try me. She glanced at the door, as if expecting someone to be listening. The markings are a message, a warning. But if the wrong people know it exists, they will use it to destroy what is left of my people. Her voice had a low, steady weight to it now. She was not just afraid for herself. She was afraid for something much larger. Ryun decided not to push her further for the moment. He turned back to the armor and began restoring the damaged circuits as he worked. He could feel her eyes on him, not in suspicion anymore, but in a quiet calculation, as if she was trying to decide whether he could be trusted with the truth. Hours passed, and the repairs slowly brought the armor back to life. The shifting colors returned to the metal's surface, and the faint hum of the power core grew stronger. When he finally stepped back, Ryun wiped sweat from his brow. It is stable now. You can wear it again, but it is not ready for combat. Some systems are still offline. Or he touched the armor gently, almost like greeting an old friend. Thank you, she said, but the way her eyes lingered on the hidden markings told Ryun one thing. The real danger was not the damage to the armor. It was whatever truth was written inside it. The repair bay was quiet that night. Most of the outposts had gone to rest, leaving only the low hum of the ventilation and the soft ticking of Ryun's tools. Ori had finally fallen asleep on the bench, her breathing steady but faintly strained. The armor rested on the workbench, shining with the repaired energy lines that pulsed faintly in the dim light. Ryun sat across from it, staring at the place where he had seen the strange markings earlier. The thought had been circling in his mind all day. He could ignore it and keep his promise not to pry, or he could look and finally know the truth. He told himself it was not about curiosity alone. If the markings were a warning, as Ori hinted, knowing what they said might be important for everyone, not just her. The dessert was quiet outside, and no one from security was due until morning. This was his chance. He moved silently, picking up the chest plate and placing it under the light scanner. He set the device to deep surface mode, revealing details beneath the top layers of the metal. Slowly, the hidden etching appeared. The symbols were not random scratches, they were lines of a language that the scanner's translator slowly began to process. The words formed in the display one by one, each sharper than the last. Do not trust the Council. They have chosen the wrong side. Ryun's brow furrowed. The Council in human space. The Council meant the Interstellar Council, governing body for multiple species. But Ori's words earlier made it sound like this was her people's council. He wondered if they were the same, or if the two were connected. The next lines came through the translation. They have traded the locations of human colonies in exchange for safety. They believe the enemy will spare them, but the enemy will destroy them once their use is over. Rian felt a chill run through him. The inscription was not just a warning, it was an accusation of betrayal. If true, it meant that some group, possibly her leaders, was working with a hostile force against humans. Ori's voice broke the silence. "What are you doing?" Rian turned quickly. She was sitting up, her eyes locked on the armor in his hands. She had woken without him noticing. "I needed to know," he said, not trying to hide it now. "If this is true, people are in danger." "My people?" Ori stood and walked toward him. Her steps were slow, her expression unreadable. "And if you tell your commander? What will happen to me?" "I do not know," Rian admitted. "But I know this: if the council is really trading away human colonies, someone needs to stop them." Her gaze dropped to the armor. "That message was left by my brother. He was part of the council's elite guard. He found out the truth, but before he could speak openly, he disappeared. The armor was returned to me, damaged, with the message hidden inside. I think he knew I would eventually find someone who could help me reveal it." Rian understood now why she had been so protective of it. This was not just about a piece of equipment. It was a last message from someone she loved, carrying a truth that could shake both their worlds. "Why not go to someone in power?" Rian asked. "Why hide?" "Because I do not know who is on our side," she said. "If I speak to the wrong person, the council will silence me before I can do anything." Her voice was steady, but there was pain behind it. Rian had seen that same look in soldiers who had lost comrades. Ori was carrying more than just fear. She was carrying grief. The repair bay felt smaller now, the shadows deeper. Rian put the chest plate down and faced her fully. "You can trust me. I will not tell security about the message. But you need to tell me everything if we are going to stop this." She studied him for a long moment, as if weighing the truth of his words. Finally, she nodded. "The enemy mentioned in that message is a faction called the Dreven. They are not many, but they are powerful. They believe they can rule all known space by turning species against each other. The council fears them, so they made a deal. Give them what they want, and they will not attack." Rian clenched his fists. "And what they want are human colonies." "Yes," she said. "And once the Dreven have used the council to weaken your worlds, they will destroy my people as well." The weight of her words settled over them like a heavy cloak. Rian realized that this was bigger than a single outpost, bigger than his life or hers. If the message was real, then both their species were in danger. He took a deep breath. "Then we cannot stay here. Security will come in the morning, and if they take the armor, the truth will be buried. We need to get you to someone who will listen." Ori's eyes narrowed slightly. "Who would that be?" "I know a cargo pilot who owes me more than one favor," Rian said. "He can take us off this rock without too many questions. There are human stations where council influence is weak. We could start there." She hesitated, but then she nodded. "If you help me get there, I will tell them everything. But until then, the armor stays with me," Rian agreed. "Then we move tomorrow before security comes back." For the rest of the night, they made quiet preparations. Rian checked his rover for extra fuel and hid the tools he would need for the journey. Ori kept the armor close, never letting it out of her reach. But as he worked, Rian kept thinking about the inscription. It was more than just a message. It was proof of betrayal. If they failed to get it to the right hands, countless lives could be lost. He also knew that if they were caught, neither of them would be allowed to leave the outpost alive. When the first light of dawn touched the desert, Rian felt the air change. The calm of the night had passed. Now, every sound seemed sharper, every shadow seemed longer. The message had changed everything. The sun rose higher over the desert, casting long shadows across the outpost walls. Inside the repair bay, Rian and Ori were both awake, though neither had slept much. The plan to leave was simple in theory, but in reality it felt like a thin thread holding them above danger. Rian moved around the bay, packing a small bag with tools, spare parts, and a few food rations. Ori sat by the workbench, the armor beside her. She was silent, but her gaze followed every step he took. "You are sure about this?" Rian asked as he secured the bag. "Once we leave, we will be hunted. The council will not let us vanish quietly." Ori kept her eyes on him. "I know, but if we stay, they will take the armor, and the message will be lost. Then nothing can stop what is coming." Rian hesitated. "If the message is true, then the enemy already knows where to strike, even if we tell someone. What can they do?" "They can prepare," Ori replied firmly. "They can warn the colonies, fortify them, and stop the council from making any more deals. My people have made mistakes, but we are not all traitors. Some will fight the Dreven. They need to hear the truth before it is too late." Her voice carried a quiet desperation, and Rian could tell she had been holding it back for a long time. He stepped closer. "Why me? You could have gone to anyone else in this outpost. Why trust a mechanic?" She looked down at the armor for a moment before answering. "Because when you found me in the wreck, you did not ask for payment or recognition. You acted without thinking about what you could gain. That is rare. I trust that you will do the right thing." Her words struck something deep in him. He was not a soldier or a leader, just a man who fixed machines. Yet here he was, standing on the edge of a choice that could change the course of two species. Before he could answer, a sharp knock came at the repair bay door. Rian froze. The sound came again. Louder this time. "Rian," a voice called. "Open up. Commander wants an update." It was the same security officer from the day before. Ori's eyes widened. "They are early." Rian looked toward the door, then back at her. "You need to hide." Without waiting for a reply, he grabbed a heavy tarp from the corner and draped it over the armor. Ori moved quickly, slipping into the narrow storage compartment behind the workbench. She crouched down, her breathing quiet. Rian opened the door just enough to see the officer. "Morning," the man said. "We are here for the armor. The commander wants it inspected immediately. It is not ready." Rian said, keeping his tone steady. "If you move it now, the structural integrity will fail. You will ruin whatever evidence you are hoping to find." The officer narrowed his eyes. "I think it will be fine. Step aside." Rian blocked the doorway. "I told you yesterday. Give me 1 day." "You agreed." The man studied him for a long moment. Finally, he stepped back slightly. "Fine. But we will be back in an hour. If the armor is not turned over, we will take it by force." He turned and left, his footsteps echoing down the corridor. Rian shut the door quickly. Ori stepped out from hiding. Her jaw was tight. "An hour is not much time." "We will not need it," Rian said. "We leave now." He grabbed the bag and motioned for her to put the armor on. She worked quickly, the plates locking into place with soft clicks. As she fastened the final piece, the shifting colors flowed smoothly across the surface again. The armor seemed to come alive with each movement she made. They slipped out through the side exit of the repair bay, avoiding the main corridors. The early morning light made the desert air sharp and dry. Rian led the way to the rover parked near the supply yard. As they climbed in, Ori glanced back at the outpost. "They will notice we are gone within minutes. Then we just have to be faster," Rian said, starting the engine. The rover sped away from the outpost, kicking up dust behind it. They took a winding route through the rocky terrain, avoiding the main paths. The plan was to reach an old cargo depot on the far side of the ridge, where Rian's pilot friend kept his transport ship. Halfway there, the comm unit on the rover crackled. A voice came through, the commander's voice, sharp and demanding. "Rian, report your location immediately." "This is a direct order." Rian switched the comm off. "They know we are gone." Ori's grip on the side rail tightened. "We must keep going." They pushed the rover harder, the engine straining as they climbed the ridge. From the top, they could see the cargo depot in the distance, a cluster of old storage units and a single landing pad. By the time they reached it, Rian's friend was already outside, working on his ship. The pilot, a man named Darren, looked up in surprise. "Rian, what is this?" "No time to explain," Rian said quickly. We need passage to a neutral station. Now, Darren looked at Ori, his brow furrowed. You are in trouble. Yes, Rian said. And if you help us, you will be too. Darren hesitated, then sighed. You saved my ship last year. I guess I owe you more than one favor. Get on board. They moved quickly, loading the rover's supplies into the cargo hold. Ori kept her helmet on now, hiding her face. The hum of the ship's engines grew as Darren began pre-flight checks. But before they could lift off, the distant roar of engines reached them. Rian looked out the viewport and saw the security skimmers racing toward the depot. They are here, Ori said quietly. Rian turned to Darren. We need to go now. The pilot's hands flew over the controls. The ship lifted from the pad. Just as the skimmers closed in, blaster fire streaked past them. But Darren pulled the craft upward, punching through the thin desert clouds in the sudden stillness of space. Ori turned to Rian. I need you to promise something, no matter what happens, no matter who questions you. You cannot tell anyone about the message unless we reach the right people. If it falls into the wrong hands, everything will be lost. Rian looked at her, seeing the determination in her eyes. I promise. The stars stretched ahead of them as the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. The outpost was far behind now, but Rian knew the danger was only beginning. Somewhere ahead lay allies, or enemies pretending to be friends. The cargo ship drifted in the black silence of space, its engines humming softly as it sped toward the neutral zone. Inside the cockpit, Rian sat beside Darren while Ori stood near the back, her eyes scanning the navigation display. The journey was meant to be quiet, but none of them truly relaxed. Hours passed in uneasy stillness. The ship's systems worked smoothly, yet there was a tension in the air. Rian kept thinking about the message hidden in Ori's armor. If the Council truly was trading human colonies to the Driven, then every passing moment could mean another world falling into danger. The stillness broke when the communications panel lit up with a blinking signal. Darren frowned and tapped the controls. We are picking up a transmission. It is encrypted. Ori stepped closer. Can you trace it? Maybe, Darren said. But I need to open the channel first. The moment he did, a voice filled the cockpit. It was faint, broken by static, but urgent. This is Station Coral 7. Unknown ships have entered our sector. We count 6 Dreven warships. Civilian vessels advised to evacuate. Repeat, evacuate immediately. The transmission cut off. Rian's hands tightened on the armrests. Coral 7 is only 2 jumps from here. Ori's face was grim. They are moving faster than I thought. If the Dreven are here already, the Council has given them more than just human coordinates. They have given them passage rights. Darren shook his head. That means they are moving through guarded space without resistance. How's that possible? Ori looked directly at Rian. Because the Council is letting them. Her words hit with the weight of a final truth. There was no more room for doubt. The Council's betrayal was real, and the Dreven were already advancing into human space. The ship's sensors picked up more signals, faint bursts of energy from far ahead. Ori studied the display. Those are Dreven patrols. They are searching for ships moving between sectors. We must avoid them. Darren adjusted the course. It will take longer, but we can go round through the Veil cluster. Rian leaned forward. Isn't that area full of magnetic storms? Yes, Darren said, but the Dreven will avoid it. Their ships are powerful, but their navigation systems do not work well near unstable magnetic fields. Ori nodded. Then we take the risk. It is better than being caught. The ship angled toward the new route, outside the viewport. The stars seemed to shift as they entered a region of distorted space. The light bent strangely here, and the navigation display flickered from time to time, while Darren focused on flying. Rian and Ori moved to the small crew lounge. The hum of the engines was steady, but Rian could see Ori was still tense. How far will the Dreven go? He asked. She answered without hesitation. Until they control every world they can reach. They believe they are destined to rule. The Council is only a tool to them, and if your people fight back, Rian asked, they will, once they realize the truth. But by then, many worlds will be gone. She looked at him directly. That is why we cannot fail. The message. And my armor is proof. Without it, I'm only another voice claiming betrayal. Rian thought about the security forces back at the outpost. If they had taken the armor, Ori's warning would have died before it reached anyone who cared. Before he could respond, the ship shook violently, the lights flickered, and the sound of alarms filled the cockpit. Darren shouted from the pilot's seat, "We have company." Rian and Ori rushed forward. On the main display, the Dreven scout ships had appeared behind them, closing the distance quickly. "They followed us through the cluster," Rian said. Darren's hands moved quickly over the controls. "They must have upgraded their navigation systems. I will try to lose them." The ship weaved between magnetic storms, huge clouds of charged particles glowing in the distance. The Dreven scouts kept coming, their sleek black hulls almost blending with the void. Ori's voice was calm but urgent. "If they board us, they will kill us and take the armor. We cannot let that happen." Rian's mind raced. "Do we have weapons?" "Cargo ships are not made for fighting," Darren said, "but I have a few decoy drones." He released the drones into space. They burst outward, sending out false signals to confuse the Dreven sensors. For a moment, the scouts slowed, scanning the decoys. "Now," Ori said. Darren pushed the engines to maximum. The ship surging forward. The view outside blurred as they dove deeper into the storm fields. The magnetic interference grew so strong that the displays began to glitch. The Dreven ships faded from the sensors, lost in the distortion. After several tense minutes, the alarms went silent. The danger had passed, at least for now. Rian let out a slow breath. "That was too close," Ori nodded. "They will try again. The Dreven will not stop hunting us." Darren adjusted the course again, guiding them toward a narrow, safe path out of the Veil cluster. "If we keep this pace, we will reach the neutral station in 2 days. But after that, it is your problem." "After that," Ori said, "it will be everyone's problem." The rest of the day passed in watchful silence. Each of them knew the escape had only bought them a little time. Rian checked the armor again, making sure no systems were damaged during the chase. The hidden inscription was still intact, its warning as urgent as ever. Late in the cycle, the ship picked up another transmission, this time from a human colony. The voice was strained, full of static, but the words were clear enough. "This is Vela Outpost. Dreven forces sighted at our perimeter, requesting immediate assistance from any allied ships." "Repeat, Dreven forces sighted," the message cut off abruptly. Ori looked at Rian. "They are moving faster than we thought." Rian's jaw tightened. "Then we have to move faster too." As the ship continued toward the neutral station, the stars outside seemed colder than before. The Dreven were no longer just a distant threat. They were already at the door. Rian woke up before sunrise. The outpost was quiet, but the air felt tense. He knew that soon security officers would come asking questions about the alien armor. He sat on his workbench, staring at the chest plate he had repaired. It looked normal from the outside, but inside it carried the hidden message that could change everything. He ran his fingers over the smooth surface and thought about what Ori had told him. He heard soft footsteps. Ori walked in, her expression calm but her eyes sharp. "They will come today," she said. Rian nodded. "I know. They will want the armor." Ori looked at the armor and then at him. "If they see the message, they will think I am an enemy. They will take me away." Her voice was quiet but steady. "If that happens, you will never hear the truth about what is coming." Rian thought about the outpost commander. The commander trusted rules above all else. If Rian told him about the message, he would send it to human headquarters. But by the time the truth was confirmed, it might be too late. The enemy ships could already be here. He stood and went to his tools. "I have an idea," he said. "But it is dangerous." Ori tilted her head. "Dangerous for who?" "For both of us," Rian replied. He opened a hidden drawer under his workbench. Inside was an old training model of a chest plate from human security armor. It was the same shape as Ori's, but made of cheap metal. "If I work fast, I can make this look like yours. I will give it to the security officers and tell them I fixed it." Ori's eyes widened. "And the real one?" "I will hide it," Rian said. We will take it with us when we leave. Ori stepped closer. You are ready to leave your people's outpost. Rian hesitated. If staying means helping the wrong side, then yes, I cannot let the truth die in a locked room. The two worked together. Rian used paint and small tools to make the fake armor look worn and battle-damaged. Ori polished the real armor, making sure no trace of his work was visible. Every sound outside made them freeze, but no one came yet. By midday, the fake chest plate was ready. Rian placed it on the table where the real armor had been. The real one was wrapped in cloth and hidden inside a sealed equipment crate. Just after they finished, the door slid open. Two security officers stepped inside. Both wore black armor and carried rifles. Mechanic Rian, one said. We are here for the alien's armor. Commander's orders. Rian forced a calm smile. Of course, I repaired it. It's right there on the table. The officer walked over, scanned the chest plate, and nodded. We will take it for inspection. Rian watched them leave, his heart pounding. They had taken the fake. The real one was still safe. When the door closed, Ori let out a slow breath. You risked everything. Rian shook his head. Not yet. The real risk is getting you out of here. That evening, the outpost alarm sounded again. More unidentified ships had been detected at the edge of the system. Rian saw this as their chance. With the outpost preparing defenses, security would be focused on the threat, not on them. He called his friend Darrow, a cargo pilot who often flew supplies to nearby stations. Darrow was rough-spoken but loyal. I need passage off this outpost, Rian said over the comm. Tonight, there was silence before Darrow replied. You're in trouble, aren't you? Yes. Rian admitted. I can explain later. Can you help? Darrow sighed. Meet me at Bay 4, midnight. No questions asked. When Rian told Ori, she placed her hand over the crate with the hidden armor. Then we must be ready before midnight. The two packed quickly. Rian took only the tools he could carry and a small bag of personal items. Ori carried nothing but the armor. Every noise outside made them tense. As night fell, they moved quietly through the back corridors of the outpost. The halls were empty except for distant patrols. In the distance, Rian could see the glow of defense turrets preparing for battle. When they reached Bay 4, Darrow was waiting by his cargo ship. Get inside, he said quickly. We leave in 5 minutes. Rian and Ori climbed aboard. The moment the hatch closed, Rian felt some of the tension lift, but not all. They were not safe yet. Darrow started the engines, and the ship slowly lifted from the bay outside. The stars stretched across the black sky, and the defense systems of the outpost hummed like a distant storm. Ori stood beside Rian at the viewport. Once we leave human space, there is no turning back, she said. Rian looked at her and nodded. I already made my choice. The ship turned away from the outpost, engines flaring brighter. Ahead lay the dark regions of unclaimed space, where they hoped to find her allies. Behind them, the outpost grew smaller until it was only a faint glimmer. But Rian knew the real challenge was just beginning. Somewhere out there, the enemy ships were moving, and they might already know about the missing armor. The cargo ship moved fast through space, stars streaking past the viewport like thin lines of light. Rian stood next to Ori in the small cabin. The hidden armor, safely packed away, felt like a secret weight between them. Daro, the pilot, sat at the controls, focused on the route to the neutral station. The trip was long, but every minute brought them farther from the outpost and closer to safety. Suddenly, the ship's alert system beeped sharply. Darrow's eyes flicked to the screen. We have company, he said quietly. On the main screen, a sleek warship appeared. Its black hull gleamed with sharp edges and strange markings. The Dreven had found them. They are fast, Rian said, heart pounding. Ori's face was calm but tense. We must keep going. The neutral station is still within reach. Darrow pushed the engines harder. The ship accelerated, weaving through asteroids and debris fields. The Dreven warship followed closely, firing bursts of energy that struck near the ship's hull. Shields holding, Darrow said. But not for long. Rian looked at Ori. What happens if they catch us? They will take the armor, she said. and then the truth will be lost. The chase lasted for hours. Darrow used every trick he knew, but the Dreven warship was relentless. Finally, they reached a hidden asteroid field. This way, Ori said, pointing to a narrow path. Between large rocks, Darrow steered the ship into the field. The warship hesitated but followed. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. A rock had hit the engine. "We are losing power," Darrow said. "We need to hide." Rion and Ori exchanged worried looks. The Dreven warship was closing fast. Ori reached into her pack and pulled out the armor's chest plate. She touched the hidden inscription lightly. "We must protect this at all costs," she said. Rion nodded. "I will help." They worked quickly, moving the armor into a secure compartment. Rion used tools to seal the door, making it look like normal storage. Darrow shut down the ship's lights and slowed the engines. The cargo ship drifted silently in the shadows of the asteroids. The Dreven warship flew past, scanning for signs of their target. It did not find them. After a long silence, the warship left the field, disappearing into the distance. Rion breathed deeply. That was too close. Ori smiled faintly. "We bought time, but the truth must still reach the right hands." The ship left the asteroid field and continued toward the neutral station. When they arrived, they found the station heavily guarded but welcoming. The people there listened carefully as Ori explained the message hidden in them. Armored representatives from many species gathered, shocked by the Council's betrayal. With the proof from the hidden inscription, they agreed to send warnings to all human colonies and prepare defenses against the Dreven. Rion watched as Ori stood among the leaders, no longer just a stranger from a wrecked ship, but a voice of hope. The truth was out. The battle ahead would be difficult, but now humanity and their allies were ready to fight for their future.